Tonight, the Metro Council will have a final vote on whether or not to acquire land for the proposed new convention center. The school system says it has to eliminate some bus stops, and that means walking for students. This was supposed to be an exciting evening for many. Instead, it turned to tragedy at Tennessee State University. So what are your options if you want to send your kids to college? Financial advisor Chris Stout from Shoemaker Financial joins us here this morning. Happy to have you back, Chris. And Maggie is excited to be out here at, what, 7? Is it even 7 in the morning?
It's not 7 o'clock.
It's bright and early. And Scott, we are here in the belly of our station. This is the master control room where in just a few hours our engineers are going to come in. They're going to flip a switch, turning off our analog signal.
Frozen Flint, live in Hendersonville.
I think I can feel an icicle forming on the end of my nose. I can't feel much of my nose. You have this music playing, and for the neighbors who can't be here in the front yard because it's 29 degrees, there's a way they can listen to it.
Flint Adam is standing by with some of today's top stories. Flint.
Thank you very much, Laura. And by the way, great to see you back here with the Fox 17 family. Headlines this morning: bankruptcy is expected for General Motors, while you will soon own a big stake in the company. Plus, worry and wait in Spring Hill, how General Motors restructuring could affect 2,100 workers. And red light runners, listen up, where you'll be paying for a fine for rolling through an intersection. Those stories and more are on the way. First, we're going to send it back over to Laura. The plan to spend $30 billion to make General Motors viable is not sitting well with everyone in Washington. Many Republicans are demanding to know how GM will separate itself from the government once it's strong enough. Nicole Collins has more from Washington. Tonight, the Metro Council will have a final vote on whether or not to acquire land for the proposed new convention center. The new Music City Center is estimated to cost more than $600 million. Fox 17's Justin McFarland joins us live downtown with the very latest on this story. Good morning. Making news in the world this morning, a Brazilian Air Force spokesman says a commercial airplane pilot spotted what looked like fire on the Atlantic Ocean near the spot where an Air France plane went missing. The jet, with 228 people on board, was headed to Paris from Brazil when it simply vanished. Officials say the plane did fly into thunderstorms and sent out a message that the electrical system had failed. A major search effort is going on, but there's not a lot of hope for those on board, which included 2 Americans. Coming up in 10 minutes, school may be out, but lunch is still in. How Metro schools are helping needy students stay fed this summer. Now it's back over to Charlie and Laura.
There's been quite a buzz at Franklin Presbyterian lately.
We've sort of let them be, and they've let us be so far.
But bees can only be let be for so long. A colony that's been quietly attending church service the past few years went forth and multiplied a few times over.
A little bit tricky.
When beekeepers recently climbed the roof, they found not a quaint colony, but rather a full mass, tens of thousands of bees. They give to the church, at least. Gallons of honey have streamed from the heavens. Problem is, it's sliding down the chapel walls, right down to the floor.
We suggested we should bottle it up in half-pint jars and sell it wholly honey from the Franklin Presbyterian Church. And I just know that we could sell every drop of honey that we've got out there to members of the congregation here.
So, is this a sign from God?
Well, if it is, I hope it's approval and not disapproval of what we're doing, but I assume it's a positive sign, and at least the bees are part of the nature here, and they seem to enjoy themselves.
The nature here may not find the bees too big a problem, but folks walking by may beg to differ.
Oh, there he is. Come on.
The queen bee has been moved elsewhere, so her colony is sure to follow.
And while this hive's days are pretty much over at Franklin Presbyterian, it doesn't mean the bees are gone forever. It's because a second colony is setting up shop.
They may not get too comfortable.
We do plan on removing those at some point in time, but we don't know exactly what we're looking at, and that's one thing about this is you don't know until you get into it.
And what no one knows is whether these bees will truly be gone anytime soon. In Franklin, Kentucky, Flint Adam, Fox 17 News.
Almost a week later, the Finley family can finally get some work done.
We started our recovery today, getting things cleaned up and all.
The veil of ice is gone, and now the Finleys see the extent of damage to their farm. Everywhere, trees split to pieces, power lines collapsed in fields. It's unlike anything Jim Finley has seen before.
Even so, he's thankful.
Well, we have a house to live in. Things could be a lot worse.
After all, the Finleys are enjoying a luxury some 2,500 other people in Trigg County don't have right now. A generator is powering the family home, as it has for 3 days now, keeping them warm. Jim Finley has no idea how much longer it will have to.
Power may be slow to return to these parts because electric companies must first replace power poles like this one that snapped in half because of the weight of ice.
Our rural electric officials tell us that it's going to be, still days before we get electricity back to, pre-storm coverage.
Trigg County Judge Executive Stan Humphreys says recovery will be slow and will cost some big bucks, but it's too early to tell how much.
It's going to be very expensive, and as time goes on, we'll get a better handle on what it is going to cost us.
Humphreys says folks will have to continue toughing it out for the time being. Folks like Jack Stewart. He hasn't been home for a week, instead staying at a Red Cross shelter.
I thought it might last a couple of days, but like this is catastrophic as far as I'm concerned.
Finley doesn't deny that, but he says catastrophe isn't holding his family down either. Today, they're recovering. Near Cadiz, Kentucky, Flint Adam, Fox 17 News.
Flint.
And Stacy, this was supposed to be an exciting evening for many. Instead, it turned to tragedy at Tennessee State University. Maplewood High School was having its graduation ceremonies here earlier this evening, and around 7 p.m., that's when all of this unfolded in what Metro Police are calling a gang-related shooting. There were several thousand people making their way out of the gymnasium, and they were heading to the main lobby doors that are back here behind me. And that's when witnesses say they saw a man standing near the main lobby doors shoot another man, identified as 21-year-old Andreas Taylor. He was shot in the face. Taylor was able to make his way out the doors and roll down a nearby embankment. A little while later, he was picked up by an ambulance and taken to Centennial Medical Center, where he was then pronounced dead. Meanwhile, TSU police, they began a foot chase and wound up apprehending a man who matched the suspect's description. That man is being held at Metro's North Precinct this evening, where investigators are interviewing him and trying to piece together what happened. Meanwhile, the victim, Andreas Taylor, police tell us he was known to run in gangs, and this evening he was wearing red colors. Meanwhile, the suspect was seen wearing purple colors. We want to stress that this shooting did not occur inside the graduation proper, but rather at the lobby doors.
Remember, the suspect shot from inside the building. One of his associates held the door open for him as he opened fire. So the shots were fired right at the doorway while the victim was outside. The suspect then fled out the other set of doors on the opposite side of the lobby.
It makes me feel sad because it feels like, we can't even come together without anybody, having bad situations going on or anything. It's just upsetting that we can't even come together and be as one.
Now, police say there were reports of a couple other injuries. One person supposedly shot in the arm. He was taken to the hospital via a private vehicle, and then reports that another victim may have been trampled as people were rushing to get out of the gymnasium after the shooting occurred.